Welcome to the Heart-Led, Soul-Fed podcast. This is season 3. I'm Christine Gold, and yes, formerly known as the Power of Healing Your Energy show. Let's go. This is a live show and podcast all about love, light, intuition, and your soul's purpose. You 2.0. Up-leveling consciousness and activating your divine blueprint for the new era. We're welcoming Dr. Michael Smith. He's been a pioneer in working to connect empaths with their divine potential. And as a fellow empath, I honor you. Thank you so much for doing the work that you do. Depression and anxiety are a side effect of not living your life intuitively, not trusting your gut, the lost connections with yourself and others. And I truly believe healing is the end of conflict within yourself, and that healing begins where the ego ends. My first book, Intuition Saved My Life, is a guide for empaths, light workers, and sensitives, and it's available on Amazon now. Unleash Your Soul's Purpose Mentorship is now open. Work with me and other souls, either in a 6-month program or a 1-year mentorship. Our 3rd annual Christ Consciousness Summit is back April 29th and 30th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. live streamed or on the replay through Facebook and YouTube. Become part of our Patreon community where you get exclusive benefits such as shout out on all videos and audio. And I want to thank my 2 Patreon supporters, Gitte and Catherine. Replays can be found on Facebook and YouTube, and of course on Anchor FM or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And if you really enjoyed this, please help others find our show by liking, following, and subscribing and leaving a review. We are live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Come on in. I see we already have a couple comments. Hi, Patty. She's joining us on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting the show as always. And yes, this is season 3, episode 191, You 2.0. And you know, when I think of that, I think of leveling up. I mean, you think about 3D, 4D, 5D. I mean, where does it end, right? And I really am excited to bring on my guest today, all the way from Flagstaff, Arizona. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Live, and those will be listening on the podcast. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for doing the work that you do. I like I said before the show, I always go and look at the website and I have a look around and maybe you want to talk a little bit about your journey. It looked like you started, was it around 2007 that you started this?
Yes, it was. And I had been not following my soul call and was quite depressed and feeling a lot of anxiety as a professor working in academia. And it was just far too left brain. I mean, I have a great respect for the left brain, and I was ignoring that soul call that was asking me to invoke my soul potential. And so I manifested basically getting fired from a job, a tenure track professor of counseling, and was forced basically by the universe to pursue what I do now. And thank God for that. And I'm sure many of the viewers and listeners are maybe perhaps in similar positions right now. We're going to talk today about really following that soul call, honoring it, listening to it, and having really constant communication that's available to us these days with our soul, with our own divinity.
Absolutely. And, we've got a few people here. Patty's joining us from Pennsylvania. I know that. And Warren, thank you so much for being here. Let us know where you're from and what you're looking forward to. And even if you're on the replay, guys, feel free to ask questions and to join in the conversation. What are you struggling with right now as an empath? And I'm going to ask that question to you, Michael, and what do you see in your groups as well?
Oh gosh, with the current state of the world right now, there's a lot of projections out there based on fear, anxiety, lower vibrational thought forms that we are learning to transmute, transform, clear, release, let go of, and move fully into the full expression of who we are, which does not have any time, space, or attention for any of that. So, if you are experiencing overwhelm or exhaustion or fatigue, which is really, really common right now among empaths, you're not doing anything wrong at all. Because that's a question that a lot of empaths are thinking right now. What the hell is going on? And like, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? I mean, because I'm experiencing anxiety or overwhelm, or the world, the collective consciousness, which is in that fear state. No, you're not doing anything wrong. In fact, you're doing everything right. And we are learning that when we experience exhaustion or anxiety, we're using that as an informer and as an advocate to direct us into meditation and communion and union with our higher self, which again, it's incompatible with our higher self. So like when we are in communication, think about those of you that are watching and listening, think about an experience that you can recall where you felt like you were in a flow state, like lots of creativity, joy, happiness. And what comes to mind? And whatever you're thinking of, whatever is coming into your consciousness, I would suggest was a direct reflection of your connection to your higher self in that particular moment, whatever it was. And in that moment, when you were connected to your higher self, there was not room for anything else that would be what we might call lower vibratory or not of your higher self. It was just directly incompatible. So yeah, I think what are you seeing, Christine? I mean, what are you experiencing in terms of like a lot of what you're coming across with your people?
Yeah, well, exactly that. I mean, when you said it doesn't connect, it does not compute, it is not part of your divine blueprint. It's incongruent with the energy that you want to hold. And I feel, with a lot of the people that I work with, and even when I started in 2016, I mean, my whole life, I couldn't tell if it was mine or theirs. I absorbed everything. There's the negativity part, there's the, labeling and all of that, the disassociation with mind, body, and spirit. And then when you actually make that connection, that activation, everything changes. And I know maybe it's hard for someone to hear that right now because they're not there. Maybe they were where I was 6 years ago. I get it. I understand. But it's a practice of faith. It's a practice of grace. It's a practice of knowing that you're a holy child of God and nothing else. So that releases any attachments, any heaviness, anything that you feel that is outside of yours, and you own your energy. I mean, energy is everything, and that's really what I mainly work with. And like Patty is saying, she's having some heaviness on the body. I hear that a lot. Joint aches. Like every week we have a group, and we're going through clearing things because as we're ascending, as we're upgrading, as we're plugging in, you're going to have all those ascension symptoms. It just depends on where you're at in your journey.
Yeah. And, those ascension symptoms, ascension experiences, sometimes headaches and heart palpitations, sweating, all of those fun experiences. What really got me through those experiences when I was like deep in the heart of it was an undeniable knowledge and faith and trust that I think most, if not all, empaths have, that it's serving a higher purpose. That yes, when we get up leveled, when we are upgrading to, you know, the next version of ourselves, 2.0, if you will, that there are some, you know, that process of the shedding of the layers is a reflection of the ascension symptoms and I like to call them experiences. In my experience, it's a more neutral word to help us embrace the fact that in the long run, these are actually really helpful things. It's not so fun at the time to, you know, to be having those particular like migraines or what have you. And yet ultimately, as does our shadow, it serves the light unbeknownst to itself.
And I just think of service. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Service. That's when you talk about flow state, service. It was the first word that came up because when I'm in service for others, that's where the flow state is. But we have to be aware of our boundaries. I'm cautioning because I know there's people pleasers and there's caretakers and there's perfectionists, right?
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, we came here to help. And so, of course, we're going to want to please and we're going to want to say yes more than we should, perhaps, because we know that in our soul, what like the vibration of the word yes, it lights us up. We want to help. Like you just said, Christine, right? You know that we're here to be of service. And if you are watching this right now, you know that. There's a reason why you're drawn to Christine's work, to my work, because you want to be able to be of service in a way that doesn't like drain you, right? Don't you think? I mean, Christine,
Absolutely.
that's kind of what it's all about these days.
Yeah, you check your gut, your spidey senses, anything that you feel yucky about, you really need to look at. Anything that you feel, and I'm not, that's the difference between that and butterflies. So that's how you get to know your body, you know, with the energy centers, with your chakras, doing self-healing on yourself, you know, working with animals. I mean, that's, you know, crystals, whatever your divinity, your tools are. I had so many tools, but now I've really, you know, after you start trying everything, you're like, okay, this is what works for me. And you build your little, well, it could be little, it could be big, spiritual kit, empath kit, whatever, self-care kit, whatever you want to identify with.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a process of evolution, and we are never in the, thank God, we are never in the same place as we were, you know, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, 5 years ago. We're really on the go, and thank God that the divine is really amping things up. Now, as a result of that amping up process, what we see out in the collective is what looks to be, and maybe actually, you know, a lot of chaos. And yet, underneath that chaos, it's my belief that there is a higher intelligence at work that is directing the show, that knows exactly what it's doing. And the reason why we are seeing some of this chaotic type tornado, a lot of air energy just kind of whipping things up, is because we have to get out of our complacency. The human ego, the human mind, loves and craves the familiar, the same, and what it believes is safety, right? And so in that way, it can serve us. Absolutely. It can be our friend and it can serve us. And in the work that we do in, you know, in our community, we talk a lot about that, and we explore how the ego is actually our friend. And so for a lot of what I've seen over the years is a lot of empaths say, oh, if I could just get rid of my ego. No, we're actually learning that the ego is our friend. It wants to keep us safe. It has a job to do. And our job from a higher self perspective is to communicate with our mental body that there is such thing, that this thing called higher intelligence that is running the show. And so the ego can take a back seat, and it doesn't have to be in hypervigilant mode all the time. And that,
Absolutely.
just speaking personally,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing more exciting to me, and I think to a lot of us, than to be able to juice that up. I would imagine for you, Christine, would that be part of the reason why you do the work that you do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, backseat. That's where it goes. Or I'd say it used to sit here like a mask.
Yeah.
Now it's in the back.
Uh-huh.
It's part of our protection. But it like you said, it's not the driving force of our life anymore. It is
Right.
spirit. That's everything. Yeah, whereas, when I first started, I tried everything and then I thought, oh, I'll try spirituality. Wrong.
Uh,
Spirituality first.
yeah.
Everything else gets laid out like the blueprint suggests. Warren, he lives in Texas and he's seeking to trust his abilities as an empath, and it's working thanks to himself and your insights, Michael.
Shout out to you, Warren. Warren's doing some amazing work. He's one of those examples of the light holders, the empaths, the light workers that are here on the planet right now, actively engaged in going through and embracing, like going through the fire and facing the fire willingly, facing who we were in the past in order to let those old stories and energies go. Warren is a perfect example of that, and he's a beautiful man, a beautiful person, a beautiful soul, and props. He shows up, and there's a reason why he's here live, and so he's a wonderful example and a role model for all of us.
I love that. And the fact that you said he shows up,
Mm-hmm.
those are the folks that I work with too. They show up. They
Yeah.
do the work, like Patty. She went through my mentorship as well, and here she is. So I thank you so much for being supporters of Michael and myself.
Yes.
You guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. Warren's also saying, I'm going through heaviness and it feels like there are walls around me, inside of me. Also feel my throat is closing, like dying.
It's interesting. I've been noticing and tracking in the people that I'm working with a lot of throat chakra activation lately. And I would suggest that if you're experiencing something like what Warren is experiencing, feeling like the throat is closing, even a drying, like Warren says, that there are two important takeaways from that. Number one, what we might perceive as the throat being activated or maybe even closed is actually a good thing, because it is our divinity, the light, like pushing up against some of the denser areas, maybe in the throat chakra. And so then we experience what I like to call spiritual friction, which is sort of the light blasting away some of the darker, denser areas in the throat chakra. And so that's number one, I would suggest, is really important to acknowledge that. Like, okay, if and when I perceive that in myself, can I then acknowledge and embrace that that's actually serving a higher purpose? Number one. Number two, if that dynamic is going on for you, as it is for a lot of empaths right now. I was just working with a client about an hour ago who's having that exact same dynamic. And God knows it was, I had my own struggles with that for many years. That the question we want to ask ourselves is, is there anything that I'm holding back in expressing? And if so, well, the answer is usually yes to that, by the way. And then if so, what really wants to be expressed? What needs to be expressed? So that throat chakra activation is an indicator. Again, it's serving us from that perspective, is allowing us and giving us permission, allowing us to know that we have permission to express ourselves in any and all situations, the truth of who we are, without fear of judgment. Usually it's the fear of judgment that is causing this closing down to begin with. Fear of what other people are going to think of us. And that's what
Yeah.
we're hopefully going to be obliterating in
And
the coming.
as the godfather of ego would say, Wayne Dyer, it's none of my business what other people think.
I love it.
I love him.
Absolutely love that quote. Love him. Yes.
Yeah, because that's what, that's the fear of coming out of the spiritual closet. And I had that. I've had that when I first started. I understand. But when you were talking about Warren, I felt like there was a lot of constriction. It was almost like, those blouses where you have it buttoned right up to the
Mhm.
collar.
Yep.
That's what I had seen. It feels like he's never been able to express himself, and nobody really understood who he is.
Yeah. That's
Interesting.
um, that is interesting, and I think that happens for a lot of us because we come into the world. Some people resonate with the term black sheep. I
Yeah.
particularly don't, but it's that coming into the world different, alien, feeling foreign, feeling like maybe we don't belong here. Those of you who are Blu-rays and come from the Blu-ray know exactly what I'm talking about. Just not fitting in your family. And that is a large part of our divine blueprint. Quite honestly, we came here to bust things up, to get out of the mold, and Warren's an example of that. And so am I, and so are you, Christine. And when I was a child, I had that. What you were talking about, like I used to wear my
Oh,
my like this when I was like 5 years old. I would to
interesting.
protect my throat chakra because it's very sensitive, right, to the
Yeah.
emotions. And I came from a family dynamic where it was not okay to express yourself. So I was manifesting as a child my button down shirts like that, right? Because it made me feel safe and it made me feel protected to do that.
Mm.
And so thank God over the years I had mentors and helpers and teachers and guides, Wayne Dyer being one of them, who allowed me to see that it's not, or it is okay to express the totality of who I am, and there will never be any judgment for anything that I could do or not do from the perspective of the divine. Like zero, none, zilch for any of us.
That's
And
right.
isn't that amazing to know that no matter what we think of ourselves at any given point in time, oh, I'm not worthy, or I fucked this up, or I made this mistake, or I should have said this, or I didn't say this, right? All of that mumbo jumbo BS, that all of it, 100% of that voice is completely irrelevant to the divine. And when we have our divine blueprint active, we are aware of that while we're hearing that voice inside our head. We're aware, oh, there goes the voice of my ego again, and it just wants a little TLC. And so I'm going to give it a little TLC right now. And then say, okay, move on into listening to the real voice that I know I want to listen to, which is the voice of my soul.
Mm. Yeah, that's a big distinction. I think many of us get stuck in that loop, that feedback loop, or the reptilian brain, or however you want to call that. So
Mhm.
I just say you catch it and say, I'm sorry, that's no longer valid. Next. All right. Patty's just saying that she's seeing herself clearing her throat a lot more. And yeah, we were talking about the shirt, the hanging sheet. And I work with past lives as well, so that does come up quite a bit.
Mm.
Warren's talking about confirmations, and he's continuing to embrace the process, and he's ready to come out literally. I love that. Yeah, you do you do you. Yeah, I want to hear about it. You let me know when you're ready. I love that. To support each other is everything, and to know that you matter, you're worthy, you have a purpose, and you're here for a reason. It just takes the heaviness off of everything they thought they were.
Mhm.
To hear that, they're like, "Wow, okay, I belong somewhere."
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how we're going to ask activating your divine blueprint for the new era. I mean, that's what this show is all about. So did you want to share a few
Well, we've
things?
actually been talking about it. Everything that we've been
Mm,
talking about is a reflection of the fact that we are consciously now activating the divine blueprint, and how we actually can facilitate and speed up that process is I'm kind of a fan of equations. My community members know this, and so like in the Empath Sanctuary and in my community membership, we do a lot. I like to make things simple
mm-hmm.
uh, for the human mind, and so I would suggest and offer that there's a three-step formula for activating the divine blueprint that is really quite simple. So number one, it's activated. The whole process of activating the divine blueprint is activated by asking a question or declaring an intention to the universe. One of those two things is going to kick us off. So, asking a question: how can I manifest more joy in my life? How can I manifest more health? How can I manifest more money or abundance? Right? The best questions usually begin with, in my experience, with the word how rather than why. Why can tend to lead to a little whininess on the part of the ego. So I would
Yep.
suggest for those of you that are listening and watching, um, what's the question that you are asking the universe right now? See if you can come up with that, like right now. What is the question, if you were to begin with the word how, that you're asking, like right now, today, in this moment, that's relevant and resonant for you? Okay, so that question is the first step, is going to just sort of kickstart this process for you. Now, step two, getting quiet, getting out of the ego and listening for the answer, or listening for the feedback loop. You talked about the feedback loop, Christine. When we ask a question, we're always going to get an answer, always, from the universe. Never fails. Even if you think you're not getting an answer, that is BS. You are getting an answer. It's just it may show up in ways that your ego or mind doesn't expect. So, to give you an example, you're asking this question right now. Those of us that are here live on the recording, we're in this group field of consciousness. We're all asking questions, and the answers are going to appear in divine time, and often they appear as experiences in our daily lives. So maybe a week from now, you'll have something that will be directly connected to the question you're asking right now in this moment. And another thing to notice and to embrace is that 99% of the data that gets pushed our way, basically, when we ask those questions, comes into our unconscious mind. So when we listen, when we get quiet, and my process is to just basically blow the ego out with my own breath, and then there we are. And then in that quiet, in that stillness, those answers come into the unconscious, and over time they become conscious. So that would be step two. And then step three is, once we receive the information, guidance, wisdom, data, I do have that left brain, so I like that word data. When we get those answers, then as the third step in the process of activating the divine blueprint and living life from the blueprint, which brings joy, brings passion, gives us the experience of love, is taking action. Taking action is the final piece of the puzzle. That's where a lot of us get hung up. And if we don't take action, we can have all the wisdom and guidance in the world, but if we're not taking action based on that, then we're going to dry up with our energy. And so I would suggest that three-step formula is something that can help all of us live a juicier life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's great. I heard question, breath, and then action.
Yep.
Make it easy for people.
Yep. Question, listen.
Listen, yeah.
And that's directly tied to the breath and getting out of the ego, and then action.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 steps will activate our divine blueprints very rapidly.
QLA, guys. So if you want to shorten it even more and write it down and practice it. Yeah, no, I absolutely resonate with that. And yeah, breath, meditation, asking the right questions, and letting it come through the clairs, whether you hear it, you feel it, you see it, you know it, you smell it, you taste it.
Mhm.
Everybody is different how it comes in.
Yes.
So that's important to know your body, and your, scanning and doing all of that work as well. So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Wonderful. So I just wonder if anybody else has any questions, anything else that they want to share. Yeah, Patty's talking about the divine blueprint. She loves that. Thank you so much. Yeah, looking at, you've got Empath Academy, you've got a sanctuary, you do a lot of lives. You're also doing a retreat. Is that something new?
I've done retreats in the past. It's been quite a while since I've done. The last one was 2013.
Okay.
I do most of my work online, which is great, and I'm feeling a huge call in 2022 to be out on the land with the people and to do spiritual ceremony in person. So yes, that is relatively recent. We're doing the Sedona journey. It's all filled up for this year. We are going to make it an annual event, and we're going to see about possibly doing another one in October. So if that's a call for you, certainly check out the website empathconnection.com and see what we got going on. But yeah, we're doing Sedona. We've got the Empath Sanctuary membership community and the Empath Academy, which is more of it's kind of an intensive, fast track, more program where we talk a lot about the clairs and how can we boost our intuition, and that's a real fun and a joyful experience.
Yeah, because we are all intuitive. And you also have a gift for anyone that's here. It is a quiz, an empath type quiz.
Yeah, you can check that out at the link or just on the website empathconnection.com. And these are fun. The questions it's only 10 questions, so it's not going to tell you anything that you don't already know about yourself, really, quite honestly. As a result of that quiz, you will learn about the 9 different empath types. And again, it's designed to light up the knowledge that you already have about yourself, and maybe put some words and maybe give you a framework to help you understand yourself, that which you already know about yourself. And there's a lot of validation in that. It can feel good to be understood, to understand yourself.
Well, yeah, because the more you know about yourself, the more that you can really, truly serve and share with others.
Yes.
I feel, and I mean that's really, I don't know about you, but I feel 2022. I always, I do a dream vision board with everybody, and we choose a word, and my word is joy. So, and how can we access joy? Well, it's through appreciation, and then through appreciation is gratitude. And the more you have that type of attitude, the more it's imprinted. It's already part of your blueprint. It becomes activated, and just becomes a natural state.
Can I ask you a question? I'm curious. So
Sure.
it really sparked something in me. So what is the difference in your perspective is there a difference between appreciation and gratitude?
Appreciation is, honestly, for me, is all the little things that you take, like water, waking up, having food. Gratitude is something that you actually show. It's like a physical. To me,
Okay.
I feel it's a physical practice. Appreciation is more of a embodiment, like connection to the heart. And then once that's connected, then you can go out and express your gratitude, whether it's through affirmations, through prayer, through service, telling someone you love them, telling someone you forgive them, however that looks.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I appreciate that, and I'm grateful for that explanation. that gratitude is more of an action. I had never considered it in that way. And I love that perspective.
Yeah, I believe it was Esther Hicks, because somebody asked about meditation, and I watched a video, and she said it's the act of appreciation actually will transcend
Uh,
any type of meditation that you go into. And I'm like, I never thought of that. Okay, thank you.
uh-huh. Oh, I
So,
love that.
wow, thank you for asking that question.
Uh-huh.
Warren is saying, I'm working on not questioning much, but having faith and trust. What do you feel about that?
What do I feel about that? I think that's
Yes.
amazing. I think that's amazing. I think that we're with you, Warren. I mean, we're all there.
Yes.
It's an active process. So when Warren says, I'm working on not questioning much and
Mm.
having faith and trust, he's describing the process of that we're all really the active process that we are engaged in. So I'm working on not questioning is a reflection that at any given point in time in our daily life, we have a choice. And what Warren says, I'm working, is I would suggest, Warren, you're choosing. You're
Ah.
choosing to not question and have faith and trust. So that's an active process that you're describing. And it's like, high five, right on.
Yeah, raise the roof. There you go.
Raise the roof. Exactly. Yes.
And then he goes on to say, questioning tends to confuse me, and he believes he has restricted his light. I believe the promises.
Yes.
Mm.
You know, so when I was moving out of academia, most of my early life, I learned what other people wanted of me, and I was damn good, like a lot of us are, at being a people pleaser. And so I people pleased through getting straight A's and being the valedictorian and 4.0, going to getting 3 degrees and then 4 degrees after that. And it was like, no, like questioning in a left linear questioning from the ego. Of course it's going to confuse us as sensitive people because it's too much, and it can be very overwhelming when we live life only from one part of our multidimensional personality and energy. And so yeah, and so one of the very first things that when my spiritual mentor started working with me in the early days, he was a shaman from Canada, amazing man and wonderful. It's passed on now. I love him and think of him every day. He's like, dude, you gotta stop reading books. So his orders to me were like, no books, no documentaries, like none of that, because we don't need it. And particularly, I did not need that type of questioning and seeking. In those days, I needed a different form of questioning, a different form of seeking, and that was the knowledge that comes from the quiet, still place here in the heart rather than the ego.
Absolutely. You're not the seeker, you're the finder.
Yes.
I understand that because you can go down the rabbit hole
Oh, yes.
with the documentaries and all the books, and you can
Yep.
fill yourself up, and you could be a perpetual student of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? Dot, dot, dot. Right?
Yeah.
I understand that. I was in that whirlwind as well. That's very good advice. I always ask 2 questions of my guests before we decide to wrap up. And of course, if anybody has questions on the replay, please send them our way. We're not going to leave you hanging. We're not that kind of show. Okay. So, how can we collectively, as a collective energy, Michael, make your dreams come true?
How can we as a collective make the dreams come true for all of us? That is a fantastic question. I would invite, let's say that again, and I would invite the listeners and the viewers to pay attention to your energy, in particular your emotional energy and your physical body as you ask this question. How can we collectively, what was the question again? How can we collectively be of service
Yeah, and make our dreams come true and
and make
collectively.
our dreams come true. Okay, how can we be of service collectively and make our dreams come true? The asking of the question is bringing us this feedback loop. So, this is the answer. And it is not coming through words, it is coming through energy because you, Christine, asked the question, and then now I'm amplifying it, and we're all amplifying it in each other. Feel your physical body, feel your emotional body. That is the answer. And in me, it's what I perceive is like a lightening of the heart, an opening of the heart. I can feel that energy coming to us. And so that's the most important data and information right there, is that feeling that you get when you ask the question.
Mm. Thank you for that. I think the 3 years I've been doing this, you're the first person to actually activate and reverberate and bring everybody in for that. That's wonderful. Thank you.
That's what we're here for, to do this together.
And what does magic mean to you?
Oh, gosh. That's another fantastic question.
Mm. I
um,
almost want to reframe it. How does magic feel to you?
oh, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, I love that. That's even more, right? You, the way you
Mm-hmm.
just did. How does magic feel? What a question. Juicy, lovely, amazing, still, quiet, fiery, passionate, left, right, up, down, non-linear, non-predictable. And yes, if you're living life from your ego, that can scare the hell out of the ego. However, when you transcend the ego and you're living from your divine blueprint, you get a completely different answer to that question. You get excitement and joy by
Mm.
asking that question. So
It's flow state, baby. That's how I
yeah,
see it.
uh-huh. Yes,
And people, there are people listening that I know would probably say that job, that relationship, that car, that house, no.
yeah, no, because those are all outcomes that the ego wants, and we're realizing that magic doesn't come from a place of want. Magic is a result of asking the right questions based on needs, knowing that truly what is needed is a focus on needs, our individual needs, and then also our collective needs. And that can be a little tricky process, working it out with the rest of humanity, our needs versus the collective needs. And yet, when we focus on needs rather than wants, that's what activates magic. And when we ask questions based on needs, not wants, that can really kickstart that magic.
Love it. Oh my goodness. I've had so much fun with you, Michael.
I have
I
too.
I
I
have a
love it.
feeling we're going to be working together in the future.
I would concur with that. It's been wonderful.
It has been. It has been. I so appreciate the work that you do. I have left all of your connections on social media, your website, all of the juicy stuff that Michael does. You guys can find in the description and in the comments as well. And is as well as before we leave the show, is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Just offering my expression of gratitude and thanks for everyone for showing up for yourself. And by default, that includes me and Christine and everyone else on Earth and in the cosmos as well, which is amazing. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much, Warren and Patty, for being here live. We're sending you all so much love. And please remember, healing begins where the ego ends. Take care. Do you feel stuck? Are you in pain? Are you looking to create your soul's purpose, but you don't know where to start? Unleash Your Soul's Purpose Mentorship. Hi, my name is Christine Gold, and I'm the founder of 24 Karat Healing. The highly experimental mentorship will help you discover your gifts, free them, and shine your inner light to spread unconditional love, unleashing your magic and your gifts, and ultimately your purpose. You will experience phenomenal breakthroughs, aha moments, epiphanies, energy healing, clearings, inner child work, higher intuition, vivid dream recall. All training slides, PDFs, and audio meditations are recorded and available for you to watch at any time. You can take them with you wherever you go. I hope to see you soon.